Hello. I hope everyone's doing well. I have coffee and medicinal herbs. Not in the coffee, but what? And I suppose I just wanted to talk about death. You know, I do a lot of thinking about it. Not in the sense that I want to kill myself. Like, don't worry about that. I don't know. I don't want to talk about the act of dying necessarily, but of death, like the topic of death, right? And also forgive me if my eyes are a little shifty. I'm like looking at the viewfinder, looking at the camera, peeking at my notes every once in a while, back to the view. So forgive me if my eyes are a little shifty. Anyway, I don't know. I believe a debate on what happens afterwards to be what it is, which is speculative, right? And less productive. Though that doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be productive to be meaningful. But I don't know. I believe the want for there to be something is the causation of the inherent fear of death, right? A religion with the sole purpose of doing right by your body and how you experience life so that you may find comfort and peace thereafter is built not on the fear of that, the thereafter, but of what you don't take with you, right? It's not a fear of what's to come, it's the fear of what you'll be losing. But, and this is not an attack on religion. I think religion is beautiful if you do it beautifully, if that makes sense. Interestingly, though, right? I I also think the argument that like there is nothing is also not productive, right? Because not only can you not quantify nothing, it's not a like obviously, and for there to be nothing would have to mean the lack of existence of anything, right? So the thought that there is nothing is not productive, right? At least to me. But also I think it's built upon the want for there to be something, right? Some sort of payoff or cosmic consequence for the actions that you've taken while you've lived and breathed. Sorry, I just punched my mic. But by that standard, I don't find the fear of death irrational. It would be impossible, at least for me, to be not afraid, as it were. And I know maybe for some, you know, those who have accepted death in its totality, in its finality, they don't fear it. But I also think that acceptance of it, its relation to the human condition, is entirely propagated on its context, right? Are you accepting what's coming because you are truly at the end of your life and you've done all you can do? The last step is just to accept that it's done. Or have you made the asinine decision to choose the date, the time, and the means in which you will stop your brain from perceiving the world? Because in the latter case, I still believe there to be a fear of death. It just hasn't surmounted the fear of life or living, for that matter, right? I don't know. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a theologist, a scientist, psychologist, or some other qualified mind, right, to make sense of my ideas. Not that they're revolutionary in any way. The concept of death as a topic, especially as a topic of conversation, is not a new one. I honestly, I think it to be one of the most tried conversations that we as humans can have. Whether in literature or art or cinema or just the drivel falling from the liquor-stained tongue of some guy at a house party whose next question for you is, can you give me a ride home? Right? Death is not new. And neither are the conversations about it. It's one thing I can say qualitatively that we all share as people. Right? We all know death. And to know it, or not know it, I suppose, is to be already dead, or inversely, hardly alive. Right? And I don't want this to sound like I'm saying, oh, just go ahead and die. Right? This all ends anyway. So make it quick. Pick up the pace and die. Because that's insane. Not insane. Let me choose my words better. Irrational. Irrational is a way better word for it. But I know that people live their whole lives based off fear. Right? Fear of never achieving your dreams. Fear of never having the money to justify dreaming them. Fear of pain done unto others. Fear that others doing pain to you. And a whole myriad of other fearful things that are carried on the backs of every single person you'll ever meet. Right? Death, while maybe not being at the front of that list, in fact, for most, I believe it to be somewhere in the back, if not the last item on that list, it's always there. Somewhere on the list. It's there. It's a constant discordant note behind every action, fucking up the melody of your life. And it can become an ear sore if you don't learn how to tune it out. Right? But that's the bitch about it, though. Death has no frequency. And if it did, it would be on the same frequency as life, as living. If you were to tune it out, you would tune out being alive. If that makes sense. They are both equally as discordant and entropic. But if beauty can be found in life, which is one of the scariest things you can do to live, that's terrifying. If you can find beauty in that, and there is abject beauty in it, there is beauty to be found in death, which is equally and inversely fearful. There's a quote I heard once in a Richard Stark novel called The Seventh that reads, oh my god, if I think I remember it correctly, that's what death is, getting your heel caught in a crack of time. Which is so brilliantly poignant, at least to me, right? Especially when you realize it's just in a slim crime thriller. Not that I'm discounting crime thrillers or slim novels, but it's just one in a series, right? Of which I've never read, but I've heard they're fantastic. And I plan on picking them up. It's saying, at least the way I interpret it, is that your existence is on a line. Get ready for this revolutionary metaphor, right? Your existence is on a line. And the start point of that line is at birth. Or maybe before then, depending on your school of thought, right? But the quote says that that line ends right when you die. That's where the end point is. Birth, death. That's where it ends. Right? There's a crack, as it were, in the timeline. In your timeline. That you're getting caught on. Or else you would just keep moving forward. Death is that crack. Right? And I know crack is a funny word, and trust me, I'm stifling giggles, but genuinely, death is a crack in time. Right? And you get stuck in there. Never to move forward, and you just have to watch the world move past you. It's like if every man, every woman, and every child that has ever been born and will ever be born is on a racehorse. Stick with me. It's on a racehorse. Right? All traveling at the same speed, all in a line across this massive track. A track the size of the world, ideally. And suddenly, your horse stops running. They'll all pass you. All of them on to a finish line that doesn't exist, that they'll never reach. And the way I think about it is, even when you're caught, your horse will keep running. Your point on the line doesn't end when you die, it just changes states. It's a whole new thing now. Still moving, albeit different from the living folk, but it is still moving. And who knows? Maybe if there is a heaven, whatever that may look like to you, maybe you still run the line. Maybe you still move in time on a separate plane. Somewhere out of this crumbling 2D line horse race metaphor that I'm actually going to ditch. Fuck that metaphor. I guess what I mean to say, there is beauty in living with the fear of death. Keep living in fear of death, but live in spite of it. Live your life in a way so that your sole existence is to live in preemptive revenge of death, right? That's the beautiful thing about life, is that it ends, right? There is a finish line, really. There is a payoff, a cosmic consequence. That payoff being you don't have to fight anymore, right? You don't have to wrestle with the thought or the fear of dying. You won't win against it. No one does, but you can give it a reason to try, right? Death is like a game hunter. You are the game. Your sole purpose in leading a fulfilling life is to waste all of its fucking ammo, to run its legs out from under it, right? And when it catches you, and believe me, it will catch you, make it admire the runaround you gave it. I don't know, do stand-up. Make that video game. Write that book. Tell that person you love them. Right? Do it all. May your comfort in that decision be that by the time it's all over, death will applaud you. And at the very least notice. Right? And I know that I've kind of circled around from the beginning of this soliloquy, I suppose. I began critical of the idea that something waited for you after you die, and now, by the end of it, I've gone and personified death. Almost sounds like I'm deifying it, right? But I don't mean to. I don't know. I think maybe just finding comfort in the fear of death is the goal. And maybe that's an oxymoron. Comfort in fear, right? Maybe that means nothing, and maybe I'm talking about nothing. But that's what a soliloquy is, right? I just talk about my thoughts, I verbalize them, I make them real, and then I leave. And your life moves on just the same. Or maybe it doesn't. And maybe that does mean something. But I suppose we'll find that out when we die.